So on this tree we have a very short leader for this season, so I'm going to try to keep the shape fairly narrow and let the tree develop, and to do that I'm going to trim these upper 4 branches or 5 branches right here. On some trees we have a situation where there's nothing that wants to be a top. In other situations we have trees like this one where everything seems to want to be next year's leader. The solution here is going to be to find the leader that we want to leave for this next season and cut out everything else. In this case, I'm going to cut out down to here, remove these competing leaders, and start up a new top for this next season. So this will be our leader this coming year, and I'm going to just straighten it out by tying it to the stub of the existing cut. And hopefully it'll be an improvement for next year. And we don't want this to be a bush on top, so I'm going to have to trim out competing leaders and competing branches up here so that this will start to have a little better symmetry for this next growing season. I'm going to be a little more vigorous on the pruning than we were on the last tree. Hopefully that'll be a nice tree next year. So as we come up to tree, we try to analyze each tree to see what it needs to improve the situation for next Christmas season. On this tree, we've got an opening down here, and it's pretty sparsely budded in here. So as I look at the bud placement on this leader, we have a nice group of buds here for a false whorl and a nice group here. So I'm going to trim to this bud right up here. So whenever I make a top cut and cut off part of the terminal leader, it's important to prune the top whorl so they don't become competing tops that same season. So I'm going to trim about 20% off of those. I'm going to work my way down and continue with a little side trimming to keep the taper narrow. Trying to leave some buds on each of those branches. So on this particular tree, as we come up to it and look at what it's going to need to be a saleable Christmas tree, we've got a very short leader this last season, so that's fine. We're going to leave that alone. We've got good filling in here. The problem's down in here where perhaps we had some deer browse or some damage. So to fill that in, we're going to tie up some of these bottom branches and tie those together to help fill in this gap. Occasionally with noble fir, we'll have a situation where the terminal bud will die out in the growth season. The solution for that is often to try to form a new bud in the center. To do that, I'll pull all of these branches together in the top whorl and cut them about half of their length. The solution for this next season will be hopefully a new bud will be forming in the center here, and we'll have a nice erect leader next growing season.